Stick with me here. After my unbelievably rich true parents brought me home, I planned every single way to beautifully script my own tragic exit. Misunderstood, I kept completely quiet. Falsely accused, I gladly stepped right up to take the blame for everyone. I did all this simply because my system promised one thing. If I achieved the ultimate villain milestone, hated by absolutely everyone and cursed forever by 10,000 people, I would be sent back to the real world with a massive multi-trillion-dollar cash prize. Well, heaven never ignores a hardworking guy. Finally, thanks to my non-stop effort, I stood proudly on the platform, fully ready to be publicly eliminated. The second I appeared, the boos and curses from the massive crowd became absolutely deafening. People even organized synchronized chants. Arthur is a shameless clown. Hearing those absolutely deafening screams, I genuinely felt just like a top-tier leader proudly inspecting his troops. I offered them a polite nod. Keep booing, folks. The harder you all curse, the happier I get. I could literally see trillions of dollars sprouting little wings and flying straight into my pockets. Just as I got completely lost in my sweet, wealthy imagination, a cold female voice suddenly echoed right in my ear. The elimination is starting. 2 guards pressed me entirely down to my knees. I felt something freezing cold and super hard press right against the back of my neck, probably the barrel of a stun blaster. I smiled tightly, closed my eyes, and prepared for that genuinely glorious moment of returning to the real world to live my absolute best filthy rich life. But watch closely here. Right at that exact magical second, a loud voice suddenly boomed, "Halt. The newest technology, the Memory Extractor 9000, has just been invented. Authorities decided to use Arthur Sterling as our first test subject. We will extract his memories right here, right now, before proceeding with his final elimination." The crowd instantly erupted into total frenzy. In that split second, I truly panicked. If my memories get completely exposed, how the heck am I supposed to finish my amazing villain arc? 10 perfectly grueling years of playing the bad guy. Is my massive trillion-dollar prize going to vanish into thin air? No, you cannot do this. I jumped up and frantically yelled. This is a totally gross invasion of my privacy. A female officer calmly held a piece of paper right in front of my face. This is the donation form you personally signed, agreeing to unconditionally give your body to the nation for scientific research. You can double-check that signature. Staring at the paper, I froze. I was naturally a patriotic guy, figuring I would do one last good deed for my country before clocking out. When I boldly signed it, I honestly thought it meant donating my body after passing away. Who knew the tiny fine print meant I was donating it while still breathing? I was completely flustered. My elimination was being live-streamed absolutely globally. You and I both know what that means. My entire behind-the-scenes life gets broadcasted to the whole world. What do I do now? Self-elimination was definitely out of the question because the system strictly warned me. Quitting equals mission failure. If I did that, I would actually perish for real, system. I loudly screamed internally, calling out in absolute desperation. After a long, overly dramatic pause, the system finally chimed in, proving completely and totally useless. I have no idea what to do either. Hearing the system's useless reply, I sank straight into total despair. Up in the elite stands, the spectators watched my panicked state and just sneered very coldly. Wow, I definitely never expected this monster to know what shame is. I honestly thought he didn't even have a heart, Sparrow sneered. Next life, be careful. Do not do such wicked things, another mocked. My biological older sister, Vivian Sterling, curled her lips in disgust. The stream chat was practically exploding. He totally deserves it. Did so many horrible things. Now he tastes the ultimate exposure. I bet he has way more dark secrets we do not even know about. This live stream is absolutely worth all the popcorn. Let us see him try to justify faking a romance with my idol, or how he framed our precious David. Karma is very real. After announcing the memory extraction, the stream's viewership completely skyrocketed from 10 million to a staggering 30 million. I stood completely frozen like a statue until someone strapped me tightly to a chair with heavy belts slapping a shiny metal helmet on my head. Instantly, a mild electrical current buzzed right through my scalp, making me twitch uncontrollably. On the massive jumbotron, an image flickered to life. It was my absolute very first day crossing over into this world. I was only 15 at the time, the true young master just brought back from the countryside by the massively wealthy Sterling family. The fake young master was David Sterling, the biological son of the family's former maid. To ensure her own son lived a life of pure luxury, The maid secretly swapped the babies, placing David safely in the mansion while completely throwing me into the countryside to fend for myself. Yet, so what do you and I make of this? When the truth was finally exposed, the Sterling family refused to punish the maid. Instead, they thanked her for raising David, even rewarding her with a fat $10 million check. Stick with me here. My very first system mission: push David down the stairs. This Sterling mansion was absolutely massive. Since arriving, I hadn't even bumped into David. So to finish this quest, I just awkwardly loitered by the grand staircase for 30 minutes. Oh, so that was the day Arthur pushed David, Vivian muttered. She glared at me strapped to the viewing chair, her eyes looking totally disgusted. This kid is truly unbelievable. Even if David is not his real brother, why could he not just try to get along? Mrs. Sterling sighed heavily. He is just born wicked. How did I ever give birth to such a terrible child? Impossible to know, Mr. Sterling said coldly. But right at that moment, the memory on the screen suddenly shifted. A voice called out behind my 15-year-old self, "So you are Arthur." On the screen, I turned around. A blonde guy was sizing me up with pure arrogance. This was definitely our male lead, the one and only David. His stare was insanely annoying. I was just trying to figure out how to gently nudge him downstairs without causing real harm when David finally spoke up. Let me tell you a little secret. Even though you are the real son, you basically grew up in the dirt. Mom, Dad, and Vivian hate country bumpkins more than absolutely anything. They will never ever like you. Yesterday, they literally told me that even if you came back, I am still their most important son. In this house, learn your place. While talking, David slowly walked right up behind me, casually leaning back against that high stair railing. I did not say a single word, just quietly processing the massive info dump he dropped. Now watch closely. No wonder the system wanted things fixed. This guy's moral compass was completely broken. Seeing me stay totally silent, David assumed I was scared and speechless. He sneered, "Get on your knees and bark. Tell me to kneel and bark." Hearing that, I finally opened my mouth. "Do you really think I am some weak little kitten who gave you the absolute nerve to tell your own superior to bark?" My voice naturally got louder. "You really do not know what is good for you, do you?" David looked incredibly displeased and then pulled the most dramatic, completely unprovoked maneuver ever. He threw himself entirely backward, tumbling down the stairs with sheer terror on his face. After doing a few perfectly aesthetic rolls on the carpet, he stopped, looked up with teary eyes, and whined, "Brother, I just wanted peace." "Why did you push me so hard? I was genuinely flabbergasted right then. What the heck was that absolute peak acting right there? The Oscars owe this kid a gold statue." Rapid footsteps suddenly echoed behind me. Before I could turn, a hand swung through the air. Smack, a heavy slap hit my face. As a former martial arts champion in my past life, I absolutely could have dodged that hit with zero effort. You saw that coming, right? David's sudden Broadway performance left my brain completely buffering. I focused my eyes. The person who assaulted me, my real sister, Vivian Sterling. "You are so unbelievably vicious. David just wanted to be nice and you casually pushed him downstairs. If anything happens to him, I will never forgive you," Vivian yelled fiercely, rushing downstairs to check on her precious David immediately. Watching this scene play out, the entire Sterling family in the VIP stands totally froze. Mrs. Sterling's jaw completely dropped. How could this be? Did David really throw himself down to frame Arthur? Mr. Sterling's eyes widened in pure disbelief. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The most shocked was Vivian. In her eyes, David was the purest, innocent little angel. How could he do something so incredibly manipulative? Her impression of him was so pristine it was delusional. That was exactly why she believed him without a second thought, instantly slapping her real brother. For one fleeting second, pure guilt rose up. Why was she so blind? Why hit Arthur without asking first? But that guilt vanished quickly. Compared to my future actions, that slap was basically a tap. Plus, David was always a good kid. He probably just panicked because I just arrived and he simply felt threatened by my presence. The live chat was completely losing its mind. Wait, Arthur never even pushed him. David threw himself down to frame him. I was totally blinded by his innocent face. I cannot believe he is a snake. And what is wrong with Arthur's sister? She never asked questions before hitting her real brother. Is she mentally okay? Everyone calm down. Arthur is still the villain. Be happy. Someone hit him. We both felt that one. Vivian read those comments instantly, lowering her head in shame. On screen, the playback continued. I touched my red cheek, glaring at Vivian. "If your precious little brother gets hurt, could I be your new favorite?" "You are just a country bumpkin," she told him. Do you even deserve to be my brother? I only have one brother, David. Vivian screamed quickly, helping the golden boy up. It is okay, sis. He meant no harm. Let us forgive him, David whimpered, playing the ultimate fake victim card. I just stared right at him coldly. This guy wanted to isolate me from the entire family. That cheap trick might fool toddlers, but who am I? Stick with me. As a professional villain, I know the plot. Nobody out crazies me. Thinking this, I slowly walked right down the stairs. You claimed I pushed you. Well, it would be extremely rude to not make that accusation into a harsh reality. Otherwise, you would just be falsely accusing me, right? As those words left my mouth, I launched a solid Sparta kick right into his chest. He felt like his ribs had just met a giant sledgehammer. He flew straight backward and crashed hard onto the floor. He was completely dumbfounded. He never expected me to completely drop the standard script. Normally, the framed guy desperately tries to explain his innocence to the angry sister. Why is he just kicking me? David desperately scrambled up. Brother, what are you doing? Brother, yeah, right. I rushed down those remaining steps, aimed for his left cheek, and delivered another absolutely brutal kick. David flailed around, trying to stand up. I aimed directly for his right cheek this time. Whack! David was writhing in pure agony, his face quickly swelling like a massive balloon. He looked at Vivian, begging for help. Sis, help me. I ignored him, aimed right for his chin, and delivered a fierce uppercut kick. His jaw nearly detached as he flew backward. Remember this, you have no sister. In this house, there is only Dad, and I am your daddy. I sneered down at him. Upstairs, Vivian finally snapped out of her total shock and sprinted down. She hesitated for two main reasons. Now watch closely. She never expected this ruthless violence, and my combat combos were so fast her brain totally crashed. You are going way too far. Arthur, what did David ever do to deserve this? She furiously shrieked. Oh, you are feeling left out without a kick. Let me be totally fair and balanced right now. Before even finishing that exact sentence, I shifted my weight and immediately Sparta kicked Vivian. She flew hard backward, directly crashing into David as he barely sat back up. Their heads bonked together hilariously. David felt his brain rattling inside his skull. He was in total shock. How does this country bumpkin have the leg strength of a martial arts grandmaster? The Sterling family's giant black dog saw its masters getting bullied, ran out, and aggressively barked at me. I did not even blink. I swung my hand, fiercely slapping the angry dog's snout. The massive dog tumbled down those remaining stairs, crashing directly into Vivian's stomach. Hey, no need to thank me. I have always been this incredibly efficient, I confidently said, brushing my hands off. I smugly flexed to the system. You saw that too, right? The system stayed completely silent before stuttering out that this was an unbelievably professional and deeply satisfying revenge script. This is absolutely hilarious. Is his mental state okay, though? Even the family dog caught hands. Man, he straight up kicked them down the stairs. What if they got permanently hurt? Arthur is purely evil. He honestly went way too far. The dog was adorable, and he just hit it. No wonder he became a notorious animal abuser later. I quickly scanned the massive crowd. In the distance, someone was holding a massive banner. Arthur is an absolute animal abuser. Heaven will never forgive him. Probably the local animal rights club. Honestly, seeing that banner made me pretty happy because it proved my villain points were massively racking up. Too bad my hard work was about to be completely whitewashed by this stupid machine. The screen suddenly shifted again. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling appeared at the top of the stairs. What on earth is going on down here? Mr. Sterling barked out loud, heavily frowning at the groaning pile of humans and dog. Arthur, this vicious monster just pushed our whole family down the stairs. Vivian cried loudly, pushing the heavy dog away while desperately struggling to stand. Dad, please do not blame him. He just arrived here. He is not used to us yet. David mumbled through his swollen pig face, playing the saint to the very bitter end. Mr. Sterling looked at David's bruised face, his heart totally aching. He turned toward me with an icy glare that could freeze a volcano. You little bastard, causing major trouble the second you walk through our door. I never should have brought you back. I chuckled inside. So childish, throwing wild accusations without even asking what actually went down. The bad apple truly does not fall far from the tree. You instantly notice his swollen face, but completely missed the giant handprint on my cheek, right? Selective blindness at its finest. Honestly, if I am a bastard, what does that make you, old man? Mr. Sterling pointed a violently trembling finger at me, then furiously lowered it. So what do you and I take from this? He gets grounded to reflect while everyone vacations. But honestly, the real plot is just starting to move. Stick with me here. My sad mood vanished instantly. I almost cheered out loud but quickly forced my face into absolute heartbreaking agony instead. Dad, seriously, before leaving, Mr. Sterling still was not completely at ease. He shot me an absolutely freezing glare. The wine cellar in the basement is strictly forbidden territory. It is packed with vintage collections. Ruin just one single bottle and I banish you forever. I nodded obediently like a perfect angel. Inside, though, I was throwing a massive rave. So the expensive booze is downstairs. Thanks for the treasure map, old man. I am notoriously immune to hangovers, Mr. Sterling warned coldly. Also, do not ever step foot inside our master bedroom. That mattress alone costs $10 million. It is globally limited. Keep your filthy kid hands completely away from it at all times. I nodded enthusiastically. Do not worry, I will completely wreck its value. Stay out of my room too, Vivian glared fiercely at me. In the novel, Vivian was a massive germaphobe. She completely hated anyone entering her sanctuary or touching things, especially her limited edition pink gaming chair. If anyone touched it, she scrubbed everything for hours. Except for David, obviously. I just smiled and nodded obediently. Oh baby, today is going to be a total wipeout. Mrs. Sterling just watched the screen sighing. She recalled the serious conversation with her husband that day. Was that a bit too harsh? It is his first day home. Must we strictly isolate him like this? She had asked carefully. Mr. Sterling coldly replied he grew up in absolute dirt with zero manners. He needs strict discipline to actually learn the lesson. Vivian totally chimed in too. Dad is completely right. He literally shoved David down those stairs on day one. If we skip disciplining him today, he will wreck the house tomorrow. Now watch this closely. Back on screen, once everyone drove away, I casually grabbed a Sprite and strolled directly into a very specific, strictly forbidden room. Seeing this wild footage, Vivian absolutely lost her mind in the stands. Is that my room? What is he doing? Clenching her fists, she stared at the screen in pure panic. Her extreme germophobia made just watching someone invade her personal space trigger major intense heavy breathing. I confidently pushed the door wide open. Pure pink absolutely blasted my eyeballs. Pink walls, pink blankets, pink gaming chair, and a pink desk, exactly like the book described. Underneath her grumpy exterior, Vivian hid a hardcore magical girl aesthetic. The live stream chat instantly exploded. Wait, is this Vivian's room? It is so aggressively pink. The grumpy sister secretly loves Barbie, up in the stands. Vivian desperately wanted the ground to open and swallow her whole. She guarded this secret carefully. Now the whole entire world knew. Curse you, Arthur, you menace. What are you even doing on screen? I casually dragged her sacred limited edition gaming chair out and flopped extremely heavily onto it. Loud surround sound gaming noises quickly echoed everywhere. During a super intense match, I accidentally knocked over my cold can of Sprite. The sticky soda splashed directly onto her super rare mechanical keyboard. Vivian ground her teeth so fiercely they practically cracked. She had fought incredibly hard just buying that ultra-rare limited edition gaming keyboard. Arthur, you absolute monster. Total menace. But honestly, only I noticed he is actually genuinely amazing at gaming. That completely misses the point. He entered without permission and totally ruined her stuff. Absolutely pure trash behavior. After crushing absolute beginners for 2 solid rounds, I felt fantastic. Casually grabbing a dirty rag, I quickly wiped the expensive keyboard down. Sprite is totally clear anyway. She will probably never even notice. I shut the PC off, stretched out, almost leaving when a strange scratch echoed behind me. This huge house was completely empty. What made that weird sound? I followed the noise, sighing with relief. It was just a chubby little hamster inside a cage. I remembered the novel mentioning Vivian loved animals and kept a pet hamster. I confidently walked over. The hamster was super friendly. Seeing my approach, it rubbed its tiny nose against the metal cage door. Let us pause for a second. Little guy escaping me today, laughing like a cartoon villain, I opened the cage and grabbed the furball. Watching from the stands, Vivian widened her eyes in sheer absolute horror. Little Love was her absolute favorite. Later on, she tragically found her precious little pet forever lost. She honestly never understood how I could act so cruel toward such a genuinely cute creature. Though missing the actual event, David vividly described that completely devastating scene, and David never ever lied to her. Oh, my poor little love, Vivian cried. The viewing audience was completely distressed too, especially those dramatic animal rights activists holding up massive protest banners. Arthur is an unforgivable abuser. Oh my goodness, what is he doing to that poor thing? I cannot look. He once ruined an entire shelter. This part is going to be absolutely brutal. On screen, I flashed a wickedly devilish grin. I carried the hamster directly into the mansion's karaoke room. I confidently turned on disco lights and massive booming speakers. Then, firmly holding the hamster like a microphone, I started belting out extreme high notes. Trust me, the entire live chat went completely silent for 5 seconds. Let us dive into this wild story. Is this dude okay who uses a live hamster as a literal karaoke mic? Did he care about the little guy's feelings at all? After 5 super loud pop songs, the poor thing looked totally defeated. Finally tired of the loud noise, it just chomped down super hard right on my finger. I winced in pain as the nasty bite left a very deep mark. I stood completely frozen. To Vivian, this heavy silence felt like the calm before a storm. She dug her nails into her palms. A guy who kicks people downstairs definitely would not hesitate to destroy a tiny hamster that just bit him. She absolutely hated to imagine what would happen next. The animal fans totally held their breath. 2 girls were already crying. On the big screen, I walked back to her room and gently placed the little guy back into its cage. I casually slapped a basic Band-Aid over my injured finger. Then I realized the hamster's food bowl was totally empty. The family left in such a big hurry that Vivian simply forgot to feed it. So I quickly searched her drawers, grabbed the fancy seeds, and filled its bowl to the top. There you go, I fed you. Do not bite me again, okay? I mumbled. Then I remembered their giant black dog. Did anyone actually feed it? I marched right downstairs to check. As soon as it saw me, the dog started barking wildly, but I was not scared at all and just walked straight toward it. Seeing me step up with zero fear, the tough dog immediately tucked its tail and laid right down, whimpering softly. I checked its feeder. Completely empty. These wealthy folks really just left without caring about their own pets at all, huh? I quietly grumbled, searching the pantry until I finally found a massive bag of dog food. Okay, let us call it a draw from our earlier clash. I am feeding you right now, so no more barking at me, deal. I poured the food out while playfully glaring at the dog. The pup seemed to understand perfectly and started wagging its tail so incredibly hard that its entire body shook. Watching this unfold, Vivian in the stands looked like her brain totally blue-screened. Arthur was supposed to be a totally ruthless villain. How is this possible? Little Love was definitely eliminated by him. We are all thinking it. David said so himself. Wait, did David actually lie? Impossible. David is an absolute angel. He just panicked on the stairs. He would never lie about this. Mrs. Sterling turned to Vivian. Did you not say he crushed your hamster? Did you not say he hurt animals? Is there a mistake here? Mr. Sterling scoffed coldly. David saw it with his own eyes. How could it be fake? We raised David. We know his character. A spark of deep resentment suddenly flared inside Mrs. Sterling's heart. So what if we raised him? Arthur is my very own family. Look at him. He got bitten and still fed the poor animal. It turns out Arthur used to be a really good kid. What made him turn to the dark side later on the screen? After casually playing with the cute dog for a bit, I stood straight up and headed toward the basement stairs. Wait, where is he going? Mrs. Sterling felt pure dread. I absolutely did not disappoint her. The next second, I pushed open the heavy oak doors of the wine cellar. Oh snap, he is in the wine cellar. I heard the Sterling family collection is the absolute best in the city. Time to feast our eyes. What is Arthur planning? Will he smash it all seeing me open that door? Mr. Sterling's heart just completely stopped. Those were the rare vintage wines he had collected for decades. He rarely even let himself take a single sip. Even though he occasionally checked the massive cellar, there were so many bottles that he was never fully sure if I had touched anything. He prayed silently, but the very next second his hopes were brutally shattered. Watch this absolute madness. I casually popped a 20-year-old Muay, then an 82 Lafite, and a limited bottle from a top British distillery. I opened 8 insanely expensive bottles total. Mr. Sterling could not stay seated. You ungrateful beast! How did I raise such a demon? He clutched his chest, pointing a shaky finger right at the giant screen. Dad, calm down. It is just a few bottles of wine. Vivian tried to smoothly soothe him, looking a bit guilty. Just a few bottles. Mr. Sterling slowly turned his head to glare at her like she was totally crazy. Do you know what those are? An 82 Lafite, and one I bought at the Spanish Royal Auction for $5 million. Arthur, I will totally end you. His eyes raged. Vivian shrank right back. Honestly, she had done something super similar once, figuring her dad never actually drank them. She secretly opened a bottle of muai for a quick taste, only to find it tasted exactly like plain tap water. She thought her dad got scammed with fake alcohol but never dared to tell him. But wait! She looked closer at the screen. What was I actually doing with those empty bottles? After casually chugging an ungodly amount of premium alcohol, I grabbed the empty bottles, waltzed right into Mr. Sterling's master bathroom, dipped the bottles into the toilet bowl to fill them up with toilet water, corked them, and put them right back onto the display shelf. Trust me, this is gold. Finishing, I gave a proud nod. A certified genius, Mr. Sterling's brain literally exploded. Just a few short days ago, stick with me here. He went down, hugged those exact bottles, even kissed them, realizing they held toilet juice. The sheer shock broke him. His eyes rolled back, passing out cold right in his VIP seat. Honey, Dad. The Sterling family totally panicked, scrambling to wake him. Honestly, Arthur is the absolute god of chaos. I thought chugging 8 bottles was the peak, but swapping in toilet water, literal biological warfare, man. Arthur is insanely petty. They only grounded him. Did he seriously need to take things that far? Bro, if your own family treated you like absolute garbage, I hope you'd just smile too. He is fighting back the only way he knows how. The moment she realized about the toilet water, Vivian felt struck by literal lightning. That premium drink tasting like plain water, yep, pure toilet water. She remembered taking a massive gulp. A heavy wave of intense nausea hit her hard and she gagged. Arthur is pure evil. No wonder he pushed me into the river later. If David had not risked everything to save me, I would be a goner. Even if David wasn't entirely innocent, the fact he saved her life was totally undeniable. Too bad David was currently stuck recovering on some isolated island with zero internet access. He couldn't even enjoy the live broadcast of my ultimate downfall. The screen's memories quickly fast-forwarded. The Sterling family was enjoying a riverside vacation, and this time they surprisingly actually brought me along. Seeing this landscape, Vivian's eyes turned totally freezing cold. This was the exact spot where Arthur ruthlessly shoved her into that raging river. Mrs. Sterling sighed heavily. It was here that Vivian nearly lost everything because of Arthur. Maybe he really was born wicked. After that crazy incident, Mr. Sterling kicked Arthur out of the house and she completely refused to stop him. The whole ordeal completely tore their family apart. Thank goodness David risked his own safety to rescue Vivian. It proved adopting him was right. Now pay attention, this is where everything changes for us. The moment Arthur pushes Vivian and hero David saves her. On screen, I checked out the rapid river, then stared at Vivian standing near the edge. I was mentally calculating the perfect angle to push her in. The system forced me to do it, but I couldn't let her actually get hurt. Vivian couldn't swim. If I pushed her, she'd get swept away fast. Plus, a sharp metal grate sat downstream. If she hit that, she'd be severely injured if she didn't sink first. After some careful thought, I finalized a plan. I'd accidentally bump her into the water, then immediately dive in and pull her out. Perfectly foolproof. The mission only demanded push her in. It never claimed I couldn't rescue her later. She was standing on a wooden dock right above the water. Perfect target. I got into position, but suddenly a voice called out from behind, "Arthur!" I turned around, spotting a stunning, slender figure looking right at me. It was Chloe. The golden sunset beautifully illuminated her flawless face, giving me a super gentle smile. I instantly remembered her character from the novel, described with an average background, 0 powerful backers, but fiercely loyal to Arthur. Looking closely, she was absolutely gorgeous. Her features, figure, and vibe were 100% my type. Holy moly, who is this beauty? She's gorgeous, honestly way prettier than movie star Elena. At this exact moment, inside the city's most luxurious penthouse, Chloe was lounging comfortably on a velvet sofa, swirling a glass of obscenely expensive red wine while watching a giant TV. She smiled very softly. Finally, my screen time. Her best friend Lily walked in looking completely ready for some premium top-tier gossip. "Oh, your turn to shine." Before Chloe could speak, Lily rambled on. "I swear you are absolutely insane. You've liked him for years but refused to reveal your true identity. If you just told him you were secretly a billionaire heiress, that actress Elena wouldn't have dared steal him." Chloe shook her head. "He is different. He doesn't like people for their status or money. Besides, I couldn't tell him the truth back then. You and I know that would have completely ruined our chances." On screen, I stared at the absolute beauty in front of me, gulping audibly. Calm down, Arthur. You're just a simple transmigrator. You will eventually go back to the real world with your cash. Plus, your destiny here is to meet an incredibly terrible end. You cannot drag a nice girl down with you. Thinking that I decided to keep things incredibly brief. I exchanged a few polite words trying to shoo her away so I could quickly finish up my villain duties. But when I turned back around, the shocking sight before me sent pure shivers down my spine. David just violently shoved Vivian into the raging river. It was absolutely 100% intentional. The current was brutal, and in a blink, Vivian was swept away. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling weren't around. I sprinted straight toward David and roared, "Are you out of your mind? That is your sister. Why did you do that?" "Me, I did nothing. Didn't you push her?" David smirked wickedly. "Even though Dad likes me more, I'm not his biological son. Only when Vivian is permanently gone, taken out by your hands, will the Sterling fortune be mine." Right then, David's incredibly terrifying true face was finally fully exposed. The 3 Sterling family members totally froze like statues. How could this be? So what do you and I take from this? The real villain always gets exposed. Stick with me here. David is a total demon. She loved him deeply, yet he tried to end her. Mrs. Sterling snapped, feeling pure volcanic rage. For years, she raised David like her own actual family, even completely cutting off her real son just for him. And this was his repayment. He tried to eliminate her daughter. "David, you absolute monster." Her chest heaved heavily. She wanted to tear him apart with her bare hands, but right after that anger, a crushing tsunami of guilt hit. She always believed Arthur pushed Vivian. She had treated Arthur like absolute garbage ever since. She never realized Arthur was completely innocent, suffering in silence. She could not imagine how he survived those incredibly dark days. If it were her, she would have given up. "Arthur, Mommy is just so sorry." Mrs. Sterling completely broke down, sobbing uncontrollably while looking at me tied to the terminal chair far away. It was entirely her fault for being blind and only listening to David. Mr. Sterling was just equally stunned. He always noticed David using manipulative tricks but brushed them off as harmless, childish games. He never imagined in his wildest nightmares that David could attempt something fatal. "What are we watching?" David pushed her. David is a literal psychopath. Vivian was always so nice to him, and he just yeets her into the river. Poor Arthur is surrounded by a fake brother and a clueless family. Now watch this part closely. I would have gone total villain mode way earlier, but on the screen I had absolutely no time for this psycho. I immediately dove right into the freezing, turbulent river. I was no saint, but I refused to stand by and watch someone perish. Vivian had already been swept far away. I fought the brutal current with absolutely everything. Right before she slammed into the rusted metal grate, I managed to grab her unconscious body. If that sharp metal sliced her in this filthy water, it was completely game over. I pulled her into my arms, using my own back as a human shield against the massive slam impact. The brutal impact hit hard, and the rusty metal tore a massive gash across my arm. Bright red liquid bloomed in the freezing water. "I swear I must owe you money from a past life," I grumbled at an unconscious Vivian, rolling my eyes. But I still held her super tightly, making sure she did not get scratched. I finally managed to drag her onto the riverbank, completely ignoring my own severely injured arm, and I immediately started doing CPR on her. If I did not act fast, she was totally gone. After one incredibly tense minute, she coughed up water and slowly opened her eyes. In the stands, Vivian was completely frozen like a wooden doll. This did not feel real at all. It has to be a nightmare. "David saved me, not Arthur," she mumbled to herself in super heavy denial. This exact incident was the core reason she despised Arthur. It was why she blindly defended David for years. Now her entire reality was completely crumbling. The person she intensely hated for years was actually her true savior. You and I both see this crazy irony. The guy she worshipped actually tried finishing her. What a sick joke. Her mind flashed back to that exact day. The water was completely freezing, and she knew that perfectly. Yet Arthur used his own body to shield her from that metal grate. Looking at Arthur on screen, soaked in red, but desperately trying to save her, a massive wave of gut-wrenching regret washed over her. Arthur protected her with his life, so how did she repay? Not only did she completely fail as an older sister, but she made his entire life pure hell. Even today, at his punishment, she was the one who paid elite lawyers to get David off the hook, ensuring Arthur received the ultimate maximum penalty. What kind of absolute monster was she? In that exact moment, Vivian felt she did not deserve to even breathe. Mrs. Sterling was also weeping violently. Because of this exact event, she had officially disowned poor Arthur in her heart. She was a monumental failure of a mother. She lost him as a child, let him suffer, and then tortured him upon his return. I deserve the worst. She raised a trembling hand and slapped herself so hard across the face. Mr. Sterling frowned deeply. Okay, so Arthur actually had a shred of decency and saved my daughter. But even so, he still could not bring himself to like him. More importantly, Arthur actually knew his darkest secrets. Since his memories were broadcasting right now, did that mean all of Mr. Sterling and his shady business dealings would be exposed to the world? What do I do? The playback continued. Just as Vivian opened her eyes, David suddenly sprinted over, shoving me completely out of the way. He dropped to his knees beside her, faking a mask of pure, frantic worry. Sis, you are awake. I thought I would never see you again. I was shoved into mud. My lips were totally purple from the freezing water, my body violently shivering, and my shirt soaked in red. I stared right at David in sheer disbelief. When the heck did this guy jump into the water? He was completely drenched. To steal the credit for saving her, he threw himself into the shallows to fake the entire scene. With those fake tears, trust me, we are actually impressed. Stick with me, you and I are watching pure manipulation. As a villain, I admit defeat. His acting skills are on another level. What just happened? Why is Vivian down? Why is David completely soaked? Mr. and Mrs. Sterling rushed from the woods, totally panicking as they hovered around them. David then kicked off his absolute masterclass performance. He hesitated, biting his lip like he was fighting to tell the whole truth. It is okay, David. Just tell us. We are right here. What happened? Mrs. Sterling urged. David literally looked like he carried the whole world's heavy injustice. I saw Arthur violently push Sis into the water, then he tried pushing me next. We struggled, so I dragged him into the water with me to completely stop him. He accidentally scraped himself on some trash, but when we splashed in, I only cared about saving Sis. I could not let her get seriously hurt, so I swam lightning fast and pulled her out. Mom, Dad, please do not be too furiously mad at him. He was just playing a harsh prank that went way too far. The live chat instantly exploded like an absolute massive bomb. Now watch closely. This absolute menace just flipped the whole truth upside down. Unbelievable, right? Where are all those David fans hiding now? Come out and apologize, you total jerk! Mr. Sterling furiously roared, pointing right at my face. We generously brought you back from the slums, and this is how you repay us. Vivian is your real sister. David might be adopted, but he is still your brother. How could you be so incredibly vicious? Mrs. Sterling joined the screaming match, blasting me with terrible insults. Dad! Mom, please do not yell at him. He was just joking around. He simply plays a bit rough. David sobbed, wiping away fake tears. Joking. Who jokes like that? He was trying to end us. He wants us totally gone. Vivian, pale as a ghost and shivering weakly, cried out. I just stood there, freezing, badly injured, completely ignored by my own parents, receiving nothing but pure, blind, baseless hatred. Did you all actually see me push her with your own eyes? I asked, my voice shaking from the freezing cold. I knew what their reaction would be, but I could not help asking, if it was not you, who was it? Did I literally throw myself in? Vivian ground her teeth in furious rage. Mrs. Sterling instantly ran to the car, grabbing 2 warm blankets. She wrapped one around Vivian and the other firmly around David. I was speechless. Is it even scientifically possible that the guy who pushed you in was David, and the guy who saved you was me? Just a thought. Even if you pushed us both in, if you just sincerely apologized, we would forgive you. Why are you trying to frame me? David whimpered fully, doubling down on his pathetic victim act. I opened my mouth to argue, but suddenly the system chimed. Ding, mission accomplished. Wait, you and I didn't see this coming? Since everyone blamed me, the mission actually cleared. Talk about an epic win. Too lazy to explain. Up in the stands, Vivian's emotions were a totally chaotic mess. Was I actually really that stupid? I did not investigate a single thing. I never even let him explain. Looking at my heavily wounded, shivering figure on screen, regret absolutely drowned her. The entire family was there, and not one single person asked why I was so severely hurt. No one offered me a bandage. Nobody even handed me a warm towel. Mrs. Sterling sat completely slumped, weeping totally silently. She absolutely hated herself. Why was she so gullible? Why did she only listen to David? She totally failed as a real mother. Mr. Sterling crossed his arms, looking completely annoyed. Do they have to cry so dramatically? It is not like we actually physically hurt Arthur. That wound was not our fault. Why did they not believe him? Why did they not even let him speak? The Sterling family shares exactly half a brain cell amongst the four of them. I am seriously crying. No matter what Arthur did later right now, my heart completely breaks for him. He is literally freezing with nasty injuries and no one is helping, not even handing him a blanket. Are they seriously his actual biological parents on screen? Knowing the mission was complete, I just shook my head. This whole family genuinely belongs in an asylum, seeing my cold, dismissive reaction. Mr. Sterling's temper fiercely flared. You push your siblings into a freezing river and show totally zero remorse. He raised his hand, aiming a devastatingly heavy slap at my face. Freezing and dizzy from my injuries, my tired reflexes were just too sluggish. By the time I tried dodging, it was too late. But right before the heavy slap connected, a quick figure dashed in and completely intercepted Mr. Sterling's arm. I weakly looked up. It was Chloe. Sir, striking your biological son like this? Do you genuinely think that is completely appropriate? Chloe heavily emphasized the word biological. The Sterling family baby swap drama was massive headline news. It was not hard to know about it. I am disciplining my own son. Mind your own business and move, Mr. Sterling furiously snapped. Chloe just sneered coldly. Did you really see Arthur push her with your own two eyes? How is he your actual real son yet? You ignore every word he says but completely blindly trust the adopted kid from a botched hospital swap. Or is David secretly your illegitimate child from an affair? Do not speak nonsense. Mr. Sterling's face turned beet red. David never lies. Arthur grew up uneducated in the dirt. Wait, what do you and I make of this? We are definitely in for a wild ride. Come along with me. She asks why she wouldn't doubt them. Arthur grew up with absolutely nothing, and these parents completely failed their basic duty. You finally found your real son, and instead of making up for it, you treat him like complete trash. Is this that elite parenting style? You didn't even press charges against the maid who actually swapped your kids. You handed her $10 million and thanked her. Anyone looking at that wild situation would totally think the maid was your old secret romance. Shut your mouth right now! Mr. Sterling was shaking with pure rage. Did you even stop to think why Arthur is injured? Chloe did not back down at all, pointing fiercely at the river. Look downstream. That is a metal grate. The only logical explanation is that Vivian was swept toward it. Arthur swam in to save her and got seriously injured by all that rusty metal. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling totally froze. Her logic was terrifyingly perfect. David completely panicked. He got swept away too. I saved my sister. His injury is his own clumsy mistake. I absolutely believe David. He definitely saved Vivian today. Mr. Sterling stubbornly dug his heels in. I believe David too, Vivian chimed in, glaring. Chloe just laughed, sounding absolutely full of pure mockery. Oh, so if Arthur is such a terrible swimmer, how did he get swept so far away? And if he is terrible at swimming, how did he magically swim all the way back here against the current? Are the Sterlings completely brain dead? Now watch closely. She was ready to keep roasting them, but I interrupted. Do not waste your breath. I simply do not need them to believe me. I really truly do not. If they actually believe me, I will completely fail my mission. Chloe was way too smart. If she kept analyzing everything, she would expose the truth and I would lose my trillions. Seeing that I totally refused to explain, Chloe just sighed and gently pulled me toward her camping tent. I never expected you to live like this at the Sterling house. She handed me a thick blanket. I eagerly wrapped it around myself, drying my damp hair. They are just a bunch of absolute fools. I do not care about their opinions, but hey, you really saved me out there. Your trash-talking skills are obviously top tier. Chloe smiled brightly at me. You have a really strong mindset, you know. You actually believe me. I looked at her, genuinely puzzled by this. I was pretty sure she never saw me save Vivian. Anyone with functioning eyes can see you got hurt trying to save someone. Plus, I truly believe in your character. Chloe looked me dead in the eye, utterly serious. My character? What do you even know about my character? I hardly remembered interacting with Chloe at school. Why did she have such a high opinion of me? She thought for a second. You are very kind and incredibly optimistic. I was totally stunned. For years in this world, nobody believed me. My family only threw false accusations and harsh insults my way. You and I both felt that, right? Even with thick skin, those insults hurt. This was the very first time someone chose to blindly trust me. My heart felt surprisingly warm. Chloe magically pulled out a fully stocked first aid kit from who knows where. Come here, let me patch up that arm. I stayed totally quiet for a second, then slowly extended my injured arm. Her movements were incredibly gentle. We were sitting very close together. Staring at her perfectly pink lips, I remembered the wild gossip on the school forum. Chloe's lips are an absolute masterpiece. Giving up everything for a single kiss would be totally worth it. Those lips were less than 4 inches away from me. I involuntarily swallowed hard, but then I violently shook my head to snap out of it. Calm down right now, Arthur. You need to take those trillions back to save your grandpa in the real world. You cannot start a high school romance here. There was absolutely nothing in the system script about dating Chloe at all. If I actually fell for her, the plot would derail entirely. Deciding I needed to stop this immediately, I resolved to just push her away. Once she finished bandaging me, she magically produced a hairdryer and offered to dry my hair. I quickly snatched it right from her. I will do it myself. Chloe paused a bit, taken aback. Why are you helping me? You totally like me, right? I hit her with the most blunt, arrogant line I could muster up. Chloe was visibly shocked. She clearly never expected such a direct approach. Do you want me to like you? After a brief moment of silence, she lowered her head and whispered. I took a deep breath and lowered my voice into an arrogant drawl. No, the Sterling family is top-tier elite. Even not being the favorite child, I fully intend to marry someone of equal elite status. A rich heiress. It was a super flimsy gold digger excuse, but it sounded believable enough. It should definitely make Chloe despise me. A flash of disappointment crossed her eyes, but almost immediately she smiled warmly. Well, that is good then. We are just classmates, nothing more. I was completely dumbfounded. I thought a sharp-tongued girl like Chloe would absolutely blow up at me. I never expected her to just smile like a gentle spring breeze. Good. That is good, I stammered, suddenly feeling very awkward. Arthur, you absolute idiot! A gorgeous girl just defended you against your whole family, and you pull the gold digger card on her. If he does not want her, I will. Get ready, boys. We ride at dawn, honestly, between you and me. I feel like she is already completely in love with him. Stick with me. You are about to see a wild double standard. Back in the luxury penthouse, Lily crossed her arms, fuming. See, I warned you the humble act would fail. That guy seriously only cares about social status. If you just admitted you were the heir to a massive billion-dollar empire, he would have locked you down right away. Chloe frowned. Please do not talk about him like that. I know him. He is totally different. Lily just rolled her eyes. My best friend is a literal genius at everything except romance. She is completely blind when it comes to this guy. In my own memories, I honestly felt exactly the same. Reading the original novel, I never understood why Chloe liked me, especially since David was supposed to be the main guy. Drying my hair, I just stared at her curiously. By helping me today, did you not just make an enemy out of David? Chloe barely looked up. So what, I do not even like him anyway. I was totally stunned. You dislike David? He is the school idol. Girls are basically forming cults around him. Just because everyone else has awful taste does not mean I do. I despise two-faced manipulators exactly like him, Chloe scoffed. Just picturing herself with David gave her literal goosebumps. Pure nightmare fuel. But mostly she hated that guy for one very specific reason. He always targets you. I nodded along. Awesome! I finally found one normal, sane person in this completely insane story. Since my hair was finally dry, Chloe handed me some super comfortable, clean clothes. Just put these on for now. She yanked a divider curtain, splitting the whole tent in half. Change over there. I checked the outfit, genuinely amazed by her prep. Did she pack an entire shopping mall for a simple day trip? Watch closely here. Outside, David was absolutely fuming after Chloe defended me. His massive ego took critical hits since she was the undisputed school beauty. If she lacked that razor-sharp attitude, her crazy fanboys could easily fill a massive stadium. Secretly, David admitted he actually had a crush on her, just slightly. As the rich Sterling family heir, he was destined to marry a high-society princess anyway. Chloe giving him zero attention drove him insane. He was totally used to girls throwing themselves at him. Chloe treated him like invisible background noise. He normally ignored it, but today she publicly wrecked his pride to defend Arthur. David could not handle it. Does she like Arthur? In his deeply narcissistic brain, Chloe did not hate him. He assumed he just had not actively tried to charm her yet. With minimal effort, she would become his loyal fan in seconds. Arthur, whatever I want, I take. You cannot even compete with me. David desperately wanted to see me angry. He confidently marched right toward her tent. Chloe, I will make you fall for me. Stepping inside, David saw only Chloe, assuming I had already left. She glared right at him with absolute freezing anger. "Why are you inside my tent?" Facing her icy glare, David instantly deployed his ultimate weapon, the classic innocent puppy eyes routine. Normally, this instantly made his parents, sisters, and classmates completely melt and comfort him. "Why do you keep blinking? Do you have an eye infection? If you are sick, go find a hospital. This is not a clinic." Chloe snapped with pure annoyance. David froze completely. In his whole life, nobody had ever spoken to him like that, especially not a girl. He quickly recovered. "She just does not know the real me yet. Once we talk, she will melt. I just wanted to check on Arthur. I was super worried since he got hurt," David said, practically oozing fake concern. "You knew he got hurt, yet you brought 0 bandages or blankets. You just barged in here totally empty-handed to pretend you are a saint. If you want to fake it, at least buy some decent props." Chloe just ruthlessly dismantled his entire pathetic act. David completely choked, his face shifting from pale to red to green. "You say you came to check on Arthur but brought absolutely nothing." "Get out of my face, you absolute piece of trash!" Chloe ordered without a single drop of mercy. "You felt that too, right?" Behind the curtain, I had to cover my mouth to stop laughing. I knew Chloe had a sharp tongue, but this was a straight-up verbal annihilation. She is my anger translator. David was so crushed by her words, his brain practically blue-screened for 30 seconds. Finally, he realized a strategic retreat was completely necessary. "Fine, if I am not welcome, I will just leave," he mumbled, forcing fake tears. But Chloe was completely immune to his waterworks. "Others might be blind, but I see exactly how fake you are. Leave you walking biohazard. Wait, what did you just call me?" His eyes widened in pure horror. Nobody ever insulted him like that. Chloe looked him dead in the eye, pronouncing every single syllable. "I called you a piece of trash. Did you hear me clearly?" "Good. Now get out." Right then I stepped out from the curtain. Trust me, you and I are going to love this reaction. Seeing me in her clothes instantly incinerated whatever logic David had left. Why does he get to wear her clothes? When Chloe saw me, her entire freezing vibe flipped like a light switch. She stood up, her voice suddenly incredibly soft and gentle. "Are you still cold? Stick with me. We're jumping into this wild web novel drama." I smiled, saying I was perfectly warm. "David?" He looked totally crushed, like his heart had just been completely shattered. "She seriously knows face-changing magic. She treats me like absolute trash and him like a precious prince. He completely lost his mind. Why treat me like absolute garbage and him so incredibly nicely? What does he have that I don't?" David screamed at her in frustration. "Arthur is incredibly kind, brilliant, optimistic, and brave, the best guy ever. In my eyes, you aren't even worth a single strand of his hair." Chloe replied super calmly, her expression remaining totally serene and unfazed. My heart actually skipped a beat. Honestly, in that magical moment, I genuinely felt the butterflies going crazy. David glared at Chloe with pure toxic hatred, spun around and stormed right out. He secretly swore absolute revenge. "Chloe, I will make you completely obsessed with me, and then you will literally beg on your knees for my forgiveness. This girl is an absolute queen. She speaks the pure truth. The sharp-tongued goddess legend is real. Stop insulting my boy David, you guys are too mean." "Oh man, the David fans are still active. Please go outside and touch grass." Watching David leave, Chloe finally sighed. Finally, the trash took itself completely out. "Thanks again. I should probably head back soon." Her earlier words definitely made me nervous. I worried my villain persona would totally crack if I stayed. "Let me drive you home. I have a car." "No need at all. It's just a tiny scratch. I can walk." Chloe stared in total disbelief at my huge stitched arm. "You seriously call that a scratch? We are miles from anything. Walking takes 4 hours. We argued, but she could not change my stubborn mind. Right before I finally left, she forcefully shoved a heavy winter coat at me. Lily shook her head at the screen. "A total hopeless romantic. Now watch closely with me." He refused her ride, so what insane thing happened next? Chloe warmly remembered that specific day, a small, proud smirk playing on her lips. Right after I left camp, she instantly called her top security chief. "Uncle Jiao, dispatch a secret helicopter security squad right away. No alerts. I am sending the exact coordinates now." When a dark helicopter buzzed super low over my head on the walk, I was surprised but honestly just brushed it off. But hidden in the dark shadows, a squad of heavily muscled elite tactical operatives had just fast roped silently to the ground. "Awaiting your orders, miss," comms crackled. "A teenage boy needs a safe escort to the city. Photo attached. He is just up ahead. Guard him from the shadows and stay completely out of sight. Report any trouble instantly. Understood. Copy that loud and clear. The shadows scattered. After walking for 2 straight hours, I was incredibly hungry. The Sterling family packed up every single snack and just ditched me. I thought I would just go totally hungry until reaching the city limits. But right as I was mentally preparing for a super painful hike, a fully stocked, glowing vending machine magically appeared by the lonely road, and it was literally stuffed exclusively with all my absolute favorite tasty snacks. I honestly marveled at this fictional universe logic. Wow, web novel worlds are totally wild. A random vending machine in the woods. You and I both know that is super suspicious. I hesitated. Was this way too lucky? Did someone secretly arrange this? But who would honestly go through that kind of ridiculously massive effort just for me? And who even possessed the crazy resources to casually airdrop vending machines outdoors? I just shrugged, scanned my phone for a massive feast, and happily snacked while walking. Chloe, chilling comfortably on her fancy velvet sofa, watched the live feed with a huge smile. The entire scene suddenly shifted. I was surrounded by students in uniform. Cages of little animals sat nearby. We were at an animal rescue center. Here it comes, the awful cruelty scene. Hurt animals and a terrible mess everywhere. I do not know how he got so twisted. He was genuinely such a wonderful guy before. How did he turn into a monster so incredibly fast? Sad past or not hurting innocent animals is instantly an absolutely unforgivable, terrible crime. Vivian watched from the stands with a super conflicted expression. After seeing the past memories, she had finally accepted me as her real brother. But the terrible fact remained I was the one who cruelly hurt animals and ended her precious hamster little love. A truly undeniable fact. Should she ever truly forgive me? On screen, I was completely slouching behind our homeroom teacher, Miss Lewis. This was just a regular school charity event meant to teach the young students about love. Miss Lewis, watching the live broadcast right now, had visibly shaking hands. She felt her entire teaching career was about to get completely ruined. Back then, I was honestly just spacing out, scheming how to boost my villain status totally, ignoring the poor animals around me. "Hey brother, come over here, let me show you something cool." David waved, flashing a totally harmless, innocent smile. I instantly went on full high alert. Whenever David smiled exactly like that, he was definitely plotting something evil. But lately my villain points were running incredibly low, so I figured I would just check out his sneaky scheme and use it. I followed him. We finally reached a quiet corner. The sight waiting for us. My jaw absolutely dropped. Trust me, we aren't ready for this. Stick with me, guys, because this scene is wild. Poor little critters scattered everywhere like a scary movie. Did he really do this? I gasped, a cold shiver creeping down my spine. "Yep, I did it," David bragged, chest puffed out completely. "You total absolute psycho," I glared at him. "Don't tell me you did this to set me up exactly, to frame you completely. I hate seeing you live so happily, so I'll destroy it all. Makes total sense, right? If you hate me so much, fight me. Why the heck would you hurt these sweet creatures? You ruined Vivian's hamster too. Is your grudge against me really worth this much? They are just foolish animals." David glanced at the mess with utterly blank, soulless eyes. "They should feel honored to serve my master plan. You know exactly how I did it. I fed them so they trusted me. Then I spiked their treats, and then I ended it." He spoke in a chillingly casual tone, a twisted smile playing on his lips. At that exact moment, I had 0 words for him. David was not just two-faced. He was literally a monster in human disguise. "Oh, here comes the crowd. Showtime." David stared into the distance and flashed a wicked smirk at me. "I want everyone to absolutely hate you. I want to see you try defending yourself when nobody listens. Let's see if your precious Chloe still believes in you after this huge mess." Viven in the VIP stands totally froze. Arthur didn't harm little love. It was David. She remembered screaming right at Arthur, calling him a born monster while comforting the actual true villain. She tormented her real brother for years over a massive lie. Smack smack, Vivian slapped her own face twice as hard as humanly possible. Watch closely, guys. Why did I blindly trust David? A seed of pure raw hatred for that guy finally sprouted deep in her heart. David, you didn't just frame Arthur. You eliminated my little love. I will definitely make you pay. Back in the memory, David suddenly dropped to his knees, wailing super loudly. "Brother, how could you do this? These little creatures were adorable. Why did you hurt them so badly?" Hearing his loud cries, the crowd of students and teachers rushed over. A few timid girls shrieked at the awful sight. "What happened here?" Miss Lewis demanded, trying hard to maintain order. David, shivering and fake crying, flawlessly pointed right at me. He took them all out. The class erupted in pure shock. "Is that true? How could you do something so twisted?" Miss Lewis glared at me so sternly. "Is this real? I saw him do it. I was terrified, and he totally threatened me. He said if I told anyone, he would do the same to me." David sobbed, completely hysterically. "The tool he used, he threw it in that pond over there." Teachers and students rushed over. Sure enough, red-stained scissors sat at the bottom. "Arthur, I never thought you could be this cruel. How could you do this?" Miss Lewis pointed a totally furious finger right at me. I sneered internally. Miss Lewis was notoriously biased toward David. He constantly bribed her with expensive gifts. David had calculated this absolutely perfectly. He knew Ms. Lewis would side with him unconditionally to close the case and pin it on me. I simply lowered my head and stayed entirely silent. This was the ultimate chance to rack up massive villain points. There were 0 cameras here. If I just stayed quiet, everyone would automatically assume I was guilty. "Arthur, did you do this or not? Just say something." A straightforward girl yelled, feeling my total silence was super suspicious. I continued my quiet vow. "See, he is not even denying it. That means he admits it." David glanced at Chloe, his eyes basically screaming. "See, your precious Arthur is a total psycho. Still like him? You saw that too, right? We've been deceived for years, Arthur. Are you mute? Say something. This is honestly infuriating. When is David going to face real justice?" Just as the furious crowd was ready to attack me, Chloe boldly stepped out. "Mrs. Lewis, convicting someone without hard evidence is completely unreasonable," Chloe said sharply. Lewis, totally annoyed at being interrupted, snapped right back. "We have a witness and physical evidence. What more do you want? You really call this physical evidence a pair of scissors in a pond that hasn't even been checked for fingerprints? The witness is just David's word against his. There is nobody else. You actually call this irrefutable proof? If I say you threw the scissors and saw you harm those animals, does that make it true? Your entire method of deciding guilt is an absolute joke." The anger translator has officially arrived. Justice might be delayed, but Chloe is always on time. Is this teacher an idiot? Convicting a kid based on one guy's fake tears definitely took a bribe. I looked at Chloe, utterly speechless. "Girl, stop carrying our teams. I'm trying to catch a conviction here." Chloe's sharp words made Ms. Lewis panic. The teacher knew her logic was completely flawed, but David just gifted her a luxury sports car last week. She had to protect her investment. The real-life Ms. Lewis watching the stream was sweating absolute bullets. She got transferred to a terrible school years ago because of an incident. Just recently, a super severe bullying case happened in her new class. What do we make of this? Karma always hits. Instead of helping, she blamed the victim. The internet found out and the Education Bureau completely blacklisted her. Stick with me, she just wanted a quiet retirement. She desperately prayed to every god that this live stream wouldn't expose her shady, totally corrupt past. Unfortunately for her, the National Education Bureau's top brass were all eagerly watching this exact broadcast. School bullying is a massive, terrible epidemic. As educators, we must show absolutely zero tolerance. Investigate this teacher immediately. I do not care if she took bribes 10 years ago. We will show zero mercy, the head director loudly barked. The investigators nodded furiously while the director fiercely glared at Miss Lewis on screen. Suspend her completely. Bring her in for questioning. Back in the memory, seeing Miss Lewis totally speechless, Serena confidently stepped out from the crowd. I fully believe David. He never lies. Chloe stared at Serena like she was staring at a literal talking potato. You believe him? So it must be totally true. Why do we even need police or evidence then? We 1 should 2, totally 3 hire 4. You 5 to 6 solve 7 every 8 crime 9 I 10 don't 11 care. 12 I 13 trust 14 David. Arrow, we should totally hire you to solve every crime I don't care. I trust David. Serena wasn't nearly as clever as Chloe, so she simply repeated her single line like a totally broken NPC. The 2 girls fiercely glared, the heavy tension absolutely thick enough to cut with a knife. I quietly observed Serena. I hadn't really looked at her before because my eyes were swollen completely shut from that nasty stairs incident. In the original novel, Serena was David's ultimate brainless fan. She had zero boundaries regarding him. Now pay attention here, reading the original book. I honestly hated her character, but I definitely had to admit she was totally stunning. She had this pale, slightly sickly beauty that instantly made people want to fiercely protect her. but right now I just found her incredibly annoying. I am an art student who used to follow Serena's Weibo. Unfollowing immediately. She literally has zero critical thinking. In an interview, she claimed she was badly bullied in high school. David saved her, so she fell incredibly hard for him. Serena, watching her past self on screen, remained completely expressionless. After seeing those past memories, her perfect view of David had cracked significantly, yet she still deeply loved him. Her home life was an absolute nightmare. Divorced parents, a terribly cruel stepdad, and a completely passive mother. She grew up deeply introverted, becoming an extremely easy target for vicious bullies. Before meeting David, her entire world was completely pitch black. One terrible day, vicious girls dragged her into a bathroom and brutally attacked her. Right before she totally blacked out, the door violently burst open. A powerful voice angrily roared, "Let her go right now, you absolute vicious animals!" In that deep darkness, someone gently wiped the dirt right off her face. She had no idea who it was, but the next day in the hospital, David brought her name tag, boldly claiming he was her heroic savior. Ever since then, she became his fiercely loyal protector. Even right now, without any evidence, she instinctively defended him. "David, if the world turns against you, I will proudly stand by your side." Suddenly, someone forcefully shoved through the crowd. It was Vivian. A senior, she immediately rushed over the second she heard David was in huge trouble. "Vivian, you know Arthur and David best. Tell us, is David actually telling the truth?" Chloe asked, fully knowing Vivian would completely side with that psycho. "I totally believe David Arthur definitely did this," Vivian declared with absolute pure certainty. "Arthur has a dark history of hurting animals. He eliminated my hamster." "You saw that too, right?" Present-day Vivian looked like she was swallowing a cactus. She desperately wanted to dive into the screen and shake her past self. "Why was I so incredibly stupid? I completely framed Arthur. I am so deeply sorry, Arthur. If I could, I would spend my entire life making it up to you." But seeing me strapped to that harsh punishment chair, her eyes grew completely hollow. "Is there even a single chance left? Am I even human? I do not deserve to be his sister. I should honestly just disappear back in the memory." Vivian's dramatic testimony was the absolute final blow. The crowd gasped in horror. If Vivian says it, it must be completely true. Arthur looks completely harmless. I cannot believe he is a terrible psychopath. Hearing the crowd turn against me, I completely cheered internally. Yes, villain persona reinforced. "Vivian, you are absolutely my MVP assistant." Chloe was absolutely furious and tried to passionately argue further, but Miss Lewis sharply cut her off. His own sister confirmed it. "Is that not enough proof? I am reporting this to the school board immediately." Chloe bravely tried to speak up, but I grabbed her arm firmly, pulling her back. Because the animal shelter was heavily funded by the Sterling family, the school smartly avoided pressing legal charges, dodging terrible PR. Instead, just to fully appease David, Miss Lewis brutally sentenced me to stand directly in the scorching athletic field from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day for a week. "Why did you stop me?" Chloe angrily demanded once the massive crowd dispersed. I stayed completely quiet. What was I supposed to say? I am a transmigrator trying to earn $1 trillion by being completely hated? Chloe bravely stepping up for me today meant she would definitely do it again. How could I ever become the ultimate villain if she constantly proved my innocence? I completely appreciated her loyal trust, but honestly, that $1 trillion was my priority. I absolutely had to crush her sense of justice and actively make her hate me. Why? Because I actually am evil. I really did eliminate those animals. I smoothly lied with a straight face. Chloe loudly scoffed, rolling her eyes. "I don't believe you for a second," I was stunned. "Seriously, you and I are watching this. Why won't she believe my literal confession? Stick with me here. They might be blind, but I am not. David clearly framed you, so why no defense?" Chloe fiercely demanded. Honestly, that moment moved me deeply. But this absolute blind faith had to stop right now. "Chloe," I said, saying every single word coldly. "My personal business has absolutely nothing to do with you. I never asked you to protect me. Do me a massive favor and stay out of my life completely." Without even looking back, I turned away. "I am sorry, but you are just a fictional novel character. I have an actual real world to return to. Earthling, you absolute fool, you just rejected the very best girl. If he does not want her, I will totally take her." Chloe sat on her sofa, eyes completely stormy. Those harsh words honestly hurt her deeply. "See, I totally told you your efforts were completely wasted on him." Lily sighed heavily. "You do everything and he just pushes you away. Let him fend for himself." Hearing that, Chloe flashed a freezing glare, dropping the room temperature by 10 solid degrees. Even though they were best friends, Lily knew Chloe was insanely protective. Whenever she gave that terrifying look, she was absolutely furious. "Do not ever speak about him like that," Chloe snapped, her voice pure ice. Lily swallowed really hard. "Okay, geez, I am sorry. My bad." But internally, she totally grumbled. "You are completely blinded by love. He treats you like a total nuisance, yet you defend him. You enjoy being his doormat, huh?" Chloe remembered exactly what happened next. Right after I left, David slithered out from behind a building. "Chloe, why even bother? Now watch this part closely with me." David equips his fake concerned friend mask. "He treated you like total dirt, so do not let Arthur fool you. If only I said he was terrible. Maybe I am biased. But his own parents and sister genuinely hate him. Does that not prove he is completely rotten?" Chloe stared back at David with absolute unfiltered disgust. His family only hates Arthur for 2 reasons. 1, they possess the combined intelligence of a soggy piece of bread. 2, you constantly manipulate and brainwash them entirely. Your cheap little sociopath tricks might work on them, but they will never work on me. She stepped closer, radiating a terrifying aura. "Exactly how Arthur treats me is strictly between us. Whether I choose to defend him is completely my own business. You do not get to come here and spew absolute garbage at me. Understand?" When she finally spoke, her eyes held the chilling authority of an absolute apex predator. For one agonizing second, David literally felt like he faced a ruthless dictator. He was so entirely terrified he literally forgot to breathe. Instinctively, stuttering, understood. A heavy sense of defeat washed over David, and he slinked away like a totally beaten dog. Even though I walked away, I had not gone very far. I heard their entire exchange perfectly. My nose honestly stung a little bit. Chloe really is way too good for this world. She is iconic. Her verbal smackdowns are absolutely legendary. Why is she so mean to David? That is uncalled for. Great. The David fanboys are totally back. Take your medicine and go straight to bed. Seeing David scurry away, Chloe let out a heavy breath. Finally, good riddance. "Thank you again. I should go," I whispered, my heart feeling incredibly heavy. Later that night, Chloe was in a seriously foul mood. We both saw this coming. Arthur rejected direct help, so Chloe protects him secretly. She makes one swift, very decisive phone call. "Uncle Zhao, I need a massive favor. There is a homeroom teacher at City High, Miss Lewis. I genuinely think she is no longer a good fit for this city. Transfer her somewhere extremely far. The more desolate, the better. Also get someone to prepare a few extra things for me." The very next day, Miss Lewis was in a fantastic mood while watching me practically bake under the blazing sun on the athletic field. Chloe walked right past, flashing her a polite but chilling smile. Miss Lewis deeply frowned. She absolutely hated Chloe because she never bribed her, always daring to challenge her authority. Today, she decided to make Chloe's high school life completely miserable. "I will force her to memorize the absolute hardest formulas. If she fails, she stands in the blazing sun with Arthur." Feeling incredibly smug about her plan, Miss Lewis walked straight into the principal's office. The principal sat waiting. "Ah, Miss Lewis, please come right in. I have something extremely important to discuss with you today," the principal said. Miss Lewis was absolutely thrilled. He is definitely announcing my Teacher of the Year award. Her expensive bribes had finally paid off. "You are a rare talent in our education sector," the principal stated smoothly. Miss Lewis beamed brightly. "Here comes the glorious praise. Oh, I am honestly so flattered. Therefore, the board decided to transfer you to City Z to lead the entire educational vanguard there." Instantly, her smug smile shattered into a million pieces. "Principal, you are joking, right? City Z was practically a frozen, desolate wasteland in the middle of nowhere. Terrible climate, absolutely zero infrastructure, and nobody ever wanted to go there. I am not joking. This is a direct order from the absolute top. With your incredible talent, keeping you here is a massive waste. The remote frontier desperately needs you, but what about the salary?" She prayed this was a high-paying hardship posting. "Well, the local economy is pretty terrible, but with your vast seniority, you will probably make an extra $200 a month compared to rookies." Miss Lewis froze entirely. $200. She makes thousands. Trust me, we just watched Karma shatter her final hope. Let you and I jump in. But when can I return Lewis? A teacher shapes minds, not geographic comfort. Why fixate on coming back? But I just applied for Teacher of the Year, she sobbed loudly. That is a local award. You are heading to City Z. Naturally, we removed your name completely. But principal, we had a deal I paid you. A deal I have zero clue what you mean. The boss cut her off sharply. Taking hit after massive hit, Miss Lewis totally collapsed. But she was not entirely clueless here. She realized she angered someone incredibly powerful. Only Arthur had that kind of massive influence in her class, even though his own family completely despised him. Could it actually be Chloe? That eerie smile earlier? But Chloe was just an ordinary working-class kid, right? Completely desperate, she begged. Principal, did I offend someone important? Please help me out. I refuse to go. The principal took a slow sip of his tea. That is a question for yourself. I know absolutely nothing. This order came from way above my pay grade. Stay safe out there, Miss Lewis. Remember your professional ethics. Watching the live stream, the real Miss Lewis swallowed a very bitter pill. She actually went to City Z, staying trapped there for 10 long years. Instead of changing, those harsh conditions made her way more corrupt and extremely bitter on the screen. I was kicking pebbles on the scorching field when the class president rushed over. Arthur knew announcement. You do not have to stand out here anymore. Really, but it is a 7-day punishment, only day 1. I was confused. Miss Lewis got transferred to City Z this morning. The math teacher is our new homeroom teacher, and she told you to come back to class. Watch closely with me here. Punishment canceled. I was completely baffled. The book skipped this part. Why get banished to the shadow realm? Total karma. That is what you get for being a corrupt, biased teacher. I bet she took massive bribes. Someone investigate her now. Guys, look at the trending news. A massive bullying scandal just broke at a City Z high school. The homeroom teacher ignored a girl getting violently attacked and humiliated, telling her to reflect on her own bad behavior. That teacher is Miss Lewis. It is the exact same woman. I cross-referenced the photos. Get the Education Bureau on the phone right now. The entire internet mobilized. Phones rang non-stop at the Education Bureau. Miss Lewis and her dark history were completely exposed. Back in the memory, the second our class president left, David slithered right up to me just like a sneaky snake. What do you want? Now, I sighed, totally annoyed. How is the hot sun treating you? Uncomfortable? Just think, you have 6 more whole days of this. Sounds like pure misery, right? David sneered mockingly. He clearly had not heard the news yet. I could not help but laugh out loud. Sorry to burst your bubble, but your little scheme completely failed. The class president just said the punishment is canceled. Wait, what? Canceled? David looked like he swallowed a sour lemon. He specifically bribed Miss Lewis to ensure my total suffering. He even bought her a flashy sports car. Yeah, that Miss Lewis you adore. She got banished to City Z this morning. That fancy car you bought her must have cost a fortune. What a complete waste of money. Sucks to be you. I patted his shoulder sympathetically and happily strolled back to class. David stood frozen, mind reeling. The Sterling family was very rich, but his allowance was not infinite. He skipped luxury purchases for 2 whole months to afford that bribe, and it was entirely wasted. He stormed into the classroom looking like an absolute zombie. He sat at his desk. Suddenly, a truly terrifying scream ripped right from his throat. He shrieked like a wild animal. The entire class jumped right out of their skins. David, what is wrong? The math teacher asked in a total panic. Inside my desk, David was hyperventilating, his face turning ghostly pale. I walked over to look and immediately gasped hard. You and I both know karma hits hard. His desk was stuffed with hyper-realistic, creepy models of those poor shelter animals. They looked exactly like the ones he had tormented. A brave student pulled one out. Relax, they are just silicone props. But knowing they were fake did not calm David. They looked so real, he thought the animal spirits came back for revenge. Arthur, you did this to me, did you not? David shrieked, pointing a shaking finger right at me. I just rolled my eyes. Bro, are you okay? I stood in the sun since 7 a.m. When would I have time to craft a Hollywood-level special effects nightmare inside your desk? I just smiled internally. This is getting interesting. Someone in this class clearly held a massive grudge against David. But who? I scanned the room. Everyone looked genuinely shocked. Only Chloe sat quietly, her facial expression completely neutral. Was she secretly helping me? I quickly dismissed that thought. A normal teenage girl could not source top-tier creepy props overnight. David could not figure it out either. For weeks after, he suffered nightmares of spooky hamsters and cursed puppies demanding his soul. What do you and I learn? Chloe smiled coldly. Bully Arthur, you absolutely pay. Simple as that. Stick with me here. Lily shook her head. You plan this brilliant payback but keep him completely clueless. What is the point if he never finds out? Meanwhile, those animal rights activists quietly put away their protest banners. For years, they endlessly boycotted me, truly believing I was the real bad guy. The wild irony is David built this huge animal lover image, even acting in cute pet rescue ads. Now intense guilt completely crushed their souls. The organization leader quickly typed a message. Just 1 minute later, an incredibly apologetic official letter appeared right on Weibo. It instantly grabbed the #1 trending spot. We want to apologize to Arthur too. We totally misunderstood him. Wait a second. Do not forget he was still a massive high school bully. Remember that clip of those poor kids? Yeah, let us wait a bit before calling him a perfect angel. Alina, the famous actress, totally sneered at her screen. She assumed I was just some uneducated punk. She only liked smart, successful guys, which is exactly why she adored David. David was the entire reason she became a star, and Arthur completely ruined her grandfather. She would simply never forgive him. Now pay attention, the memory shifts to the bathroom. The legendary bullying scene. Multiple students swore he was a total tyrant. It cannot be fake. Trent, David's main lackey, watched the stream and started sweating buckets. If the real truth leaked, the internet would absolutely eat him alive. Panicking, he quickly texted his private group chat. Guys, they are showing the bathroom scene. What should we do? Just pray it hides the rest. We did not completely lie. Years ago, David paid Trent and his buddies huge cash to film a fake sad video claiming Arthur was a cruel bully, forcing them to drink toilet water. Back inside the memory, David and 12 huge guys completely cornered me in the boys' bathroom. Ironically, the water got shut off that day, making the bathroom smell like an absolute biological disaster zone. Arthur, you have done too many bad things. As family, it is my duty to discipline you, David announced very self-righteously. He was extremely furious that I escaped the sun punishment and wanted to vent his anger. I sighed heavily. This complete idiot is back for round 2. Drink a mouthful from that toilet bowl and I will forgive you, David ordered arrogantly. I leaned casually against the tiled wall, simply picking my nails. Hey, the young master is talking directly to you. Are you completely deaf? If you refuse, we are definitely going to break your legs, Trent aggressively barked, cracking his knuckles. Serena, watching the live stream, deeply frowned. She always thought Arthur was the real bully. But looking right at the screen, Arthur was completely surrounded. David looked like a mafia boss. Serena absolutely despised bullies more than anything. Her faith in David completely shattered. You see it too, right? Who is bullying who? David has 12 huge guys cornering Arthur, yet people called Arthur the bully. Those video kids totally lied for fame. Someone suddenly dropped their IP addresses on screen. David smirked. Knowing I was incredibly strong, he brought a small army to guarantee I could not fight back. If you refuse to drink the forbidden soup, then kneel down, apologize, and tell Mom and Dad you are leaving the Sterling family forever. Leave the family, I confidently scoffed. I had to stay to complete my villain missions. Without a word, I lunged forward with a lightning-fast sweep kick, sending 3 massive guys crashing right into the door. Oh crap, he is making a run for it, Trent loudly yelled. But I never ran. I calmly reached over, locked the bathroom door from inside, and turned around, flashing a completely maniacal grin. Seeing that terrifying smile, David subconsciously took a step backwards. Remembering his huge numbers advantage, he yelled, "There are 12 of us! Rush him!" The mob charged. I just cracked my neck. Time to show these kids exactly why I was the national combat champion in the real world. I had not skipped one single day of intense training since transmigrating. I dropped right into a Bruce Lee stance and unleashed absolute chaos. Fists and feet flew in a fast blur. Within 10 seconds, half the gang was groaning on the wet floor. David was absolutely horrified. He assumed I was just a farm boy with basic farm strength. He never knew I was a lethal weapon. The remaining guys quickly backed away in pure terror. Nobody wanted to be the next punching bag. "Get him! Do not just stand there!" David loudly shrieked, but no one moved. "Fine, if you refuse to attack, I will be leaving," David nervously said, trying to save face and inching right toward the door. "Oh, you really think you can start a boss fight and just log out?" I laughed wickedly. I reached into the corner and firmly grabbed the massive, heavy-duty toilet brush. I dunked it deep into the clogged, water-deprived, festering toilet bowl, stirring it around to gather the absolute maximum biological payload. Then, flashing a wild, demonic smile, I spun around and swung the brush like a broadsword. Splat, a thick, unholy yellow mist instantly sprayed across the entire group. The bathroom instantly smelled like the 7th level of the underworld. The screams of pure agony echoed off the tiles. Trent was standing the closest. I slammed that soaked brush right on his head. 0 physical damage, but trust me, you and I know that emotional damage was absolutely critical. Let's dive right into this crazy payback. He dropped, screaming, his uniform totally wrecked by my ultimate weapon. I aimed for David next. Wham! The brush slapped right across his perfect blonde hair. A sticky, highly questionable brown mess slid down his forehead. David froze. The neat freak was totally paralyzed. Realizing what hit his face, he let out a screech that shattered glass. He wanted to vanish completely. I surveyed my glorious battlefield with absolute satisfaction. I dropped the weapon, unlocked the door, and strolled right out, leaving 12 bullies crying behind me. Oh my goodness, this is absolute peak cinema. Arthur is an absolute savage. He fully weaponized a toilet brush. Pure genius. I wish I had those epic high school combat skills. I would have ruled the school. Later, the 12 boys lined up in class, smelling absolutely terrible, sobbing uncontrollably. The rest of the class pinched their noses, trying so hard not to laugh. You have to kick him out! Arthur forced us to eat well, you know, David cried loudly. The teacher pinched her nose. You are telling me Arthur cornered 12 of you all by himself and forced that. Now pay close attention, because this is where the real truth finally drops. Even though I claimed self-defense, my ultimate chemical warfare was considered way excessive. She ordered them to write apology letters while I had to clean the bathroom. Fair enough, but David was furious. Why write letters? Because you brought 12 guys to jump one kid. You started this. The teacher totally snapped. She ignored his bribes and nonsense. When Vivian burst in to check on her precious David, he sprinted over. Sis, you are here, Vivian gasped. David smelled like a literal garbage dump. As he reached for her, she shrieked, Stay away! Do not touch me! Stand 5 feet back! Seeing his beloved sister treat him like a total plague, David was heartbroken. I leaned back and laughed. What is wrong? Vivian, not hungry. There is plenty more in the bathroom. I made a fake lunging motion right at her. Vivian screamed in pure terror and sprinted out of the room faster than an Olympian. The sister ran for her life. Meanwhile, one of the guys who faked the bullying video just confessed online. The post shot to number 1. I lied. Arthur never bullied us. David paid us to frame him. I needed money for Mom, but my conscience cannot take it anymore. I'm sorry, Arthur. The internet unleashed absolute fury on Trent and the gang. They were exposed and relentlessly roasted online. Trent threw his phone against the wall. Karma finally arrived. Now you and I both know karma never misses. David was gaming, totally unaware his reputation was completely burning. In reality, David went home, showered for 3 straight hours, and burned his clothes. Then he put on an Oscar-worthy crying performance for his parents. He forced us. I just wanted peace. Outrageous. His mom slammed the table. Arthur, from now on, your allowance is absolutely 0. Pay for your own lunches. Watching this later, the mother wept bitterly. I starved my son over lies. I am a monster, later David sneered at me. Allowance cut. What now, country boy? Then he got an idea. He ran upstairs and brought down a massive pile of dirty, stained camping clothes. Here you are, poor. Wear my trash. He wanted to humiliate me, but I only saw dollar signs. David was the school idol. Crazy fangirls would pay top dollar for this. Thanks, bro. You are the best. I grabbed the clothes and ran. David was completely confused. Brain damage. The next morning, David spent an hour styling his hair, ready to reclaim his cool guy image. Walking onto campus, he heard a loud gong. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Want to experience the authentic scent of our school idol? I am auctioning off his personal, unwashed clothing. 100% authentic. I stood on a desk with a megaphone. David was horrified and rushed over. Is this really his? A girl asked. I pulled out high-resolution photographic proof of David wearing it. He looked like an absolute dork. David turned completely red. He was humiliated. Starting bid is $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. The bids went wild. I was ecstatic. Stop buying, David shrieked, unable to take it. And trust me, you and I just witnessed a legendary hustle. I will just live stream it online. Stick with me here. I pulled out my phone for anonymous shipping and David completely panicked. If this went viral, his social life was completely over. I will buy it all back for 50,000, 50 grand. I make more online. 100,000, 200,000 final offer, or I go live. David gritted his teeth until they nearly cracked. He just blew all his savings bribing the teacher. 200 grand literally bankrupts him, but he had no choice. Fine. He transferred the money, hugged his dirty laundry, and walked away feeling like the universe's biggest victim. Honestly, Arthur is an absolute entrepreneurial genius today. He outsmarted the scammer I am dying. With zero cash from his wealthy family, Arthur had to survive somehow. After school, I used the 200 grand to sign a 2-year lease on a nice nearby apartment. Then I made a phone call. Grandpa, it is Arthur. I am doing great. My new parents are wonderful. They let me drink expensive wine and my sister plays games with me. Seriously, do not worry. I rented a great place. I am bringing you to the city tomorrow. I hung up the phone, my eyes blurring with heavy tears. In this fake world, the wonderful grandpa who raised me was the only person showing me real love. It reminded me of my real-life grandpa currently stuck in the hospital with a rare disease that required absolute trillions to ever cure. That is exactly why I took this insane system mission to begin with. I had to go back and save him. Vivian watched the screen, crying heavy tears. Arthur was just so incredibly sweet to his dear grandpa. He lied about us treating him perfectly just so the old man would not worry. Plus, he spent all his money giving him a safe home. Yet we called him uneducated trash. Suddenly, the scene shifted to literature class where the teacher was notoriously strict. She assigned the class to memorize a massive, incredibly difficult classical poem. So who memorized the Song of Everlasting Sorrow? She asked, her intense eyes scanning the terrified students. David immediately raised his hand. He stayed up all night memorizing it to show off. Standing up, he recited it decently well, then sat down to bask in the class's pure admiration. Anyone else? The teacher asked. David smirked. Watch closely, he knew I slept early. He really wanted to embarrass me. Teacher, since Arthur transferred from the countryside, did you not give him an easier, shorter poem to learn, like Spring River in the Flower Moon? The strict teacher nodded. She gave me an easier assignment, assuming I was far behind. If he recites that, can it count for the whole class to completely avoid our punishment? David asked, playing the fake benevolent hero while setting a nasty trap. He was completely certain I ignored the easy poem. I lazily stood up. I could not care less about school politics, but back in the real world, I scored near perfect on my entrance exams. I basically had a photographic memory. Which one do you want me to read? I asked calmly. The teacher sighed heavily. Just try Spring River. I didn't miss a beat. I rattled off the complex poem with absolutely perfect pronunciation, zero stuttering and flawless rhythm. The entire class stared at me, jaws completely dropped. The teacher was stunned. This lazy kid was actually a genius. David's face twisted in pure anger. He tried to humiliate me, but I completely stole his spotlight. Actually, teacher, I memorized the Song of Everlasting Sorrow, too. I added very casually. Really? Let us hear it. I flawlessly recited the incredibly long, brutal poem without taking a single breath anywhere wrong. The class erupted in thunderous applause. I just saved everyone from punishment. Trent, furious that David was totally upstaged, slammed his desk. Big deal. You memorized a simple poem. If you can memorize Li Sao and preface to the Pavilion of Prince Tang poems, we have not even learned yet. I will frog jump 500 meters down the hallway. You and I know Trent is basically a free loot drop. Are you sure about that? Let us up the stakes. You film it, post it to your timeline, pin it forever, and you cannot delete it. Deal, Trent sneered. There was zero way I could memorize those absolute nightmares in 3 minutes. Start the timer, I confidently told the teacher, then I unleashed my inner Eminem. I started reciting ancient classical Chinese poetry at the insane speed of a supersonic rap god. Syllables flew out of my mouth like a machine gun. I never stumbled. I never paused. 2 minutes and 15 seconds later, I finished both poems perfectly. The entire class was completely dead silent. The shocked teacher dropped her pen. When the bell rang, she gave a few final remarks and quickly left. Trent's face looked absolutely terrible. He sneaked a glance around, praying nobody noticed him, and prepared to slip right out the back door. Hey, Trent, exactly where are you going? Planning to just back out, I smiled brightly, stepping right in front of him. The entire class's attention instantly locked right onto us. Some students even pulled out sunflower seeds ready for the drama. We are all classmates here. Do you really have to humiliate him like this? Tommy stood up right next to Trent, trying to play peacemaker. He set the terms of this bet. Why is it suddenly my fault for not valuing friendship? Unless you want to take the brutal punishment for him. I shot Tommy a sideways glance. Tommy instantly silenced. Trust me, you and I know he definitely was not frog jumping 500 meters for Trent. Let's dive in. He awkwardly sat back down. You made this bet and everybody heard. I told Trent not to embarrass himself. His face went completely pale. He seriously regretted ever running his big mouth in the first place. He added those crazy stakes himself. Now he wanted to punch a wall. Finally, completely crushed under the heavy stares of the entire class, he slowly got to his feet. I grabbed my phone and hit record. With actual tears welling up in his eyes, Trent grabbed his ears and slowly dropped into a squat. He actually took dance classes before, so his frog jumping form was surprisingly decent. He painfully frog leaped right out into the hallway. Curious students quickly swarmed around him. Is that Trent frog jumping? What is this, circus? Yep, his proud reputation as the absolute dance king of the school was now completely destroyed. After he finished that miserable 500 meters, I happily waved my phone, captured. Post it online, pin it, no deleting. Trent looked absolutely miserable. Why on earth did he run his mouth and challenge me like that? He got the video. Saw himself looking like a total clown. He stared at it, then reluctantly hit post and pinned it for everyone. I nodded with total satisfaction and walked off. Trent glared fiercely, grinding his teeth. Oh, I'll get my payback, so satisfying. Nasty people totally deserve to shoot themselves in the foot. Here's what you and I know. Never provoke someone stronger. I strolled across the sunny schoolyard feeling absolutely refreshed and fully victorious today. Suddenly, two guys chased me down. Arthur bro, that was pure peak. Are you a rapper? A guy named Vincent beamed brightly. I frowned hard. Crap, I was way too flashy. Now the whole class was actually starting to like me. This was bad. To keep my dark villain persona alive, I had to shut it down. I don't teach trash, I spat coldly. Vincent looked like he just swallowed dirt. You punk, I'll destroy him. He lunged wildly forward, but his panicked friend quickly held him back. Calm down. Impulse is dangerous. We're classmates, so let's just keep the peace. Meanwhile, Trent sat completely defeated in the room. David walked in to comfort him. Don't worry, David gently patted his trembling shoulder. I'll definitely get sweet revenge for you. He made you frog jump. Well, I'll make him crawl away from class barking like a stray dog. Trent nodded, deeply moved. David was a wonderful friend. The scene shifted. The math teacher proudly stood up at the classroom podium. Registration for the annual National Math Olympiad is now officially open. Whoever wants to participate, sign up with me. Need some spoilers for this current arc? Come on, spill it. I don't know the exact drama, but Arthur literally scores a total 0 on his math exam later. Let's pause a second. We are watching a total disaster unfold here. How do you even score 0? Even randomly guessing scores? Some points, Arthur is probably just completely hopeless at school and wildly unlucky. The Sterling family valued smarts above everything else. David intensely studied for this Olympiad to totally secure his flawless position as the genius heir. I casually strolled up to the teacher's desk. I want to register. The teacher clearly hesitated. Arthur, the Olympiad is brutally hard. You took no prep classes. Maybe try again next year. She was politely hinting that I dragged down the school average. It's perfectly fine. I can totally handle it, I insisted. In my past life, I was the absolute youngest person to ever win the Fields Medal. High school math was a literal joke to me. David and Trent strolled over, laughing mockingly. You entering the Olympiad, do you even know basic calculus, farm boy? Trent sneered. David scored 147 on the mock exam. You'll embarrass us. That's it, I laughed loudly. I could score a perfect 150 blindfolded. David's eye twitched. Oh, really? Let's make a bet then. Whoever scores lower completely drops out of the competition, gets down on their knees, and literally barks like a dog while crawling out of the classroom. Deal, I agreed instantly. Meanwhile, the powerful elders of the Sterling family were intensely watching this live stream unfold. Did Arthur and David seriously make a bet like this? We never knew about this madness. Wait, after this exact competition, David stopped entering the Olympiad completely. He claimed he was way too busy with other studies and lacked free time. Looking back, that feels highly suspicious. And for Arthur, nobody in the family even knew he entered this Olympiad. Whenever his father mentioned him, it was just to brutally complain about his lack of education. Could Arthur actually be a hidden mathematical genius? Realizing this truth, the powerful Sterling elders grew absolutely furious. Their own flesh and blood was finally found, and this is how his father treated him while blindly listening to Mr. Sterling and that David. They assumed Arthur was an unfixable thug. But watching these memories, they finally saw a kind, sensible kid. Mr. Sterling pushed a perfectly good kid into becoming a villain. As for David, he was a complete monster hiding behind a pretty face. When he returned from the island, he needed severe discipline. The Sterling family could never tolerate a toxic snake like him around. Trust me on this. If Arthur is a genius, his father faces heavy punishment. Let's dive into this wild story. An elder sighed about wasting a prodigy while a live stream poll popped up on screen. People debated if Arthur or David would win. Everyone thought Arthur was totally clueless, but he just recited classic poetry with absolute perfection. Could he actually pull this off? Arthur scored 0 on his college math test while David got 147. How will he win this? Reciting poetry is nothing like solving advanced equations. Arthur is clearly just showing off recklessly. The poll results dropped. Over 90% picked David. The famous actress Elena stared at her screen and practically burst out laughing. She was absolutely certain that Arthur was a complete academic disaster. She loved brilliant, highly successful guys, which is exactly why she fell so hard for David. How could Arthur ever possibly compete with him? Sure, she watched the stream and saw David's incredibly dark history revealed, but honestly, who cares? David treated her like absolute royalty. Without him, her amazing career wouldn't even exist today. But Arthur, he was the villain who caused her grandfather's tragic end. She would never, ever forgive him. Then the screen shifted back to the Olympiad exam. Staring down an insanely complex, massive test, the entire room watched in pure shock as I completely ignored the extra scratch paper. Now watch this wild moment. Writing the final answers that fast, is he just guessing? Olympiad math is notoriously difficult, yet he wasn't calculating a single thing. Nobody would ever believe he was actually solving them. Way before the clock ran out, I had completely finished the entire test packet. Only the final 10-point question remained. I frowned deeply. This isn't right. Reading through this world's textbooks, I found a tiny logical flaw in their core theories. During normal, everyday math problems, this tiny mistake never even surfaced. But these Olympiad questions were insanely difficult, relying on tricky details that perfectly exposed this exact logical error. I confidently raised my hand up. Sir, there is a major problem here. One condition is entirely wrong. The proctor slammed his hand on the desk angrily. Absolute nonsense. The greatest mathematical minds in the entire country designed this. I just shrugged casually and quickly wrote out a ridiculously complex derivation right on the back. Right then, a dignified older man walked into the room. It was Professor Vance, the head of the National Math Committee himself. He glared at my paper, ready to yell, but his eyes suddenly widened. Trembling, he grabbed the sheet. Good heavens, the variable constraints in the third axiom are actually flawed. You are an absolute generational prodigy. Fast forward to the results. I scored a perfect 150 plus a special 50-point bonus. David got 112. Standing in the crowded hallway, completely surrounded, I looked down at him and smiled. Bark. Crying pure tears of utter humiliation, David actually dropped to his knees and whimpered, slowly crawling toward the exit. We all knew a twist was coming, right? The giant screen zoomed ahead to their final high school days. Actress Elena gasped loudly. Wait, my grandfather! Professor Vance was actually her grandfather. On screen, it was the day of the massive entrance exam. I was taking my math test when I suddenly looked out the ground floor window. Far out in the courtyard, David was pushing the professor's wheelchair straight toward a steep concrete drop. I didn't even hesitate. I slammed my pen down, earning that infamous 0 score, and vaulted right out the window. Sprinting across the yard, I grabbed the wheelchair just before it fell. But David wasn't finished yet. Furious that I ruined his plan, he pulled out a syringe and viciously jammed it into the professor's neck. You absolute maniac, I roared, punching David into the bushes. I rushed to the professor's side, but the toxic substance worked instantly. His hand dropped limp. Before I could process anything, David started screaming loudly. Help us! Arthur ended Professor Vance. He lost his mind. Security rushed and tackled me. In the real world, Elena let out a totally heartbreaking scream and collapsed. David destroyed him. She sobbed uncontrollably, realizing she gave her entire career to the very man who ruined her own family. Suddenly, the memory extractor 9000 completely powered down. The truth was out. The entire plaza erupted into a roar. "Free him!" David, Mr. and Mrs. Sterling and Vivian broke through the heavy police barriers, falling straight to their knees before my containment chair. "Arthur, please forgive us. We were blind." I panicked internally. "System, everyone loves me now. Did I just lose all those trillions?" A robotic chime echoed loud in my mind. Ding! Mission evaluation complete. Host achieved the milestone of being cursed by 10,000 people right before extraction began. Reward of $1 trillion transferring in 3, 2, 1. I almost cried pure tears of joy. Looking up at the VIP box, Chloe stood there smiling brightly through her happy tears. She always knew. "So what do you and I learn here?" I nodded, facing my groveling family. "Forgive you," I smirked right into the microphone. "Too late. I'm clocking out." Before anyone could even comprehend my words, my eyes fluttered shut. "Let's dive in." My body just collapsed against those belts. I faded away right there on that platform, leaving Elena and the whole Sterling family to drown in endless regret. Beep, beep. Suddenly, I opened my eyes, gasping for fresh air. The scent of sterile hospital sheets hit me hard. "Arthur, you fell asleep, my boy," a frail voice whispered. I instantly bolted right up. My real-world grandpa, he was actually breathing, watching me from his hospital bed. Then my phone vibrated in my pocket. "Now watch this. Bank deposit 1 million. Balance 1,145. I stared at my screen, grinning incredibly wide. I tightly grabbed his frail hand, crying happy tears. "Pack up, Grandpa." I laughed out loud. "We are moving to the absolute best hospital ever." Looking out that hospital window, the morning sunlight felt way warmer than it had in 10 long years. Let the Sterling family and that entire fake world drown in their own endless fictional regrets across all dimensions. I claimed my prize and left their script forever. Trust me, we absolutely love a perfectly happy ending.